the attack text reads that you can utilize it on your first turn. You're not allowed to attack going first in the Pokemon trading card game, but you can search your deck for an extra lightning energy and accelerate it onto the active Pokemon, so it can get things going. Looking at prize cards here, interesting already things to note about Jack's list is running the Cross Switcher engine as a way to gust, as well as Boss's Orders. Andrew, having 2 Arceus prized can be a big deal. You want to get that Arceus down, the turn 1 attachment. It's things we've seen time and time again in this format. Getting that energy down, turn 2, Trinity Nova is what every Arceus deck wants to do.
And it even really showed how important it was in the first set from round 4 that we casted, where if that is delayed by 1 or even 2 turns, you just fall so far behind from that. I love the inventiveness of here taking the electric engine, which is known for being very quick and very aggressive, coupling that with Arceus and accelerating even more energy into play and getting these massive payoffs. Mareep in the opening starting slot here. That means Jack can get that Flaffy Dynamotor engine up, hopefully next round, and Andrew fortunately does find that Arceus as well on turn 1.
Yeah, looking at things, Andrew, very happy to start things out. You usually see this Arceus Mirror. Mostly every deck is going to want to start and go first to apply that pressure, either take knockouts or hit into that Arceus, potentially even getting one-hit KO. But the big thing as well is, I feel like in this matchup specifically, Jack going second can be a lot bigger of a deal because of that Vikavolt V in the deck. 2 copies of it really values the ability to not only knock out a Sobble on the second turn of the game, but also prevent your opponent from playing any item cards. And this format is riddled with item cards, Quick Ball, Level Ball. Almost every search option for these evolution Pokemon and even basic Pokemon can be found in these item cards.
If you delay that, your opponent is set further behind. And the players now, I love how at first the meta game was based on purely getting these big attacks out quickly, and now we're seeing a lot more disruption come into the meta game, where control wasn't quite enough to cut it, but players are still borrowing great assets from that tool set and using them for their own benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what you want to see right away. Has to actually discard a few key resources later on. The Ordinary Rod to maybe bring back some of those Mareep Flaffy pieces, or even some of those key support Pokemon. And Raihan as well is a great way to not only get more energy into play, but also search out those specific key pieces. We've got some time as we're looking through. First deck search here, Jack very smartly wants to identify what cards are prized. We'll smartly identify that one of those cross switchers are prized, so we'll only have access to the other 3. So only able to play one of them so far. I believe it was actually in the upper prizes, which can be a, or I believe it was somewhere in the prizes there. So not exactly where you want it. Obviously, you want to have access to that card, but getting Vikavolt down as well is going to be a big card against the Sobble engine. You want to prevent Andrew from going aggressive, but I have to wonder at this position, all Andrew needs to do next turn with items is to get an Arceus V-Star out and start attacking, and from there, the real problem why Vikavolt doesn't see as much play anymore is 50 damage is still solid, and Super Zap Cannon as well to deal 190 is good, but it's only 50 damage, and if you're just swinging into something with a lot of HP, right, 208 HP, 300 HP, it's slowly getting the job done, but your opponent's still doing what they want. They're attacking, they're taking prizes, and they're advancing their board.
The format has slowed down just enough to really allow these 2-turn knockouts, but when you're starting to make that 2.5, 3 turns, it does get a little bit shaky. With Mareep still hanging out in the active, potentially getting knocked out before the Flaffy comes down, the Vikavolt has to do a lot of heavy lifting here to get that momentum that we were really hyping up before we went into the game. Cape of Toughness on this thing as well. Jack wants this Vikavolt to carry.
Yeah, the Cape of Toughness is a very big deal because it prevents any real threat from Andrew of knocking out this Vikavolt with something like a double turbo energy in combination with a choice belt and a Zigzagoon. But actually, the thing over Andrew's list does not play any copies of that Galarian Zigzagoon, which we usually see to be able to apply pressure in this Arceus mirror. But getting Drizzle out means that this will almost certainly grab the Evolution Incense, which is going to be needed, or it looks like already has the pieces and can value a Quick Ball. Playing these item cards, you don't really want to aggressively burn them because down the line, Vikavolt's not going to be attacking for the entirety of the game. But at the same time, they will become unplayable soon. As we've seen, the hand here already has the Evolution Incense, which means we will be seeing an Arceus V-Star come out this turn.
The trick with Jack is finding just that perfect moment to attack with the Vikavolt. If you can lock out Andrew from taking a key search, finding the final piece to tie together a certain bench or a certain combination, you buy yourself so much time and so much tempo. And Andrew taking their time, he's searching through the deck, as you said as well. Ethan taking stock for the prize cards, seeing what resources he has available. And then Arceus V, having a second one on the bench is so important. Once you get that acceleration of energies, you have a second attacker that can just come right back up into the active spot if this first Arceus V star goes down.
Yeah, and this is a little bit smart. I actually like this play from Andrew. The hand's not looking too solid right away, but does have the Sharon's Care as well as the training court. So very big, was able to find that bump to the stadium, played the own path on the first turn, and then bumped it with the training court. Now going to go ahead and utilize that Starbirth V-Star power. We've given this star power so much praise. The ability to grab any 2 cards out of your deck, or even in fact in the history of the Pokemon trading card game, the ability to grab any card out, going all the way back to computer search from base set and then Boundaries Crossed when it was reprinted. The ability to just do that has been so powerful, and to have an ability on a great attacking Pokemon that just grabs any 2 cards cannot be understated.
Any player in any card game, not just the Pokemon TCG, would love to have this effect. And now Andrew is making use of it here. You get to find not only energy acceleration, but also the ability to find tech cards for bad situations that you're in, combo pieces to really drive home an advantage that you found. Using it here early just means that Andrew just values the utility, valuing the missing pieces of the setup, getting the foundation ready to go here.
Yeah, an interesting choice, actually going to opt to play the Melanie without grabbing the double turbo, actually eyeing up, grabbing the Melanie just to draw some more cards this turn and play the supporter. You already have the Sharon's Care the following turn, and this is where things are going to get a bit tricky for Jack. You do have the potential later on to get your own V-Star power on your Arceus, but your Mareep's getting knocked out. It's how you accelerate energy into the board while you're slowly item locking. And while Vikavolt will come up, this is looking very good for Andrew. He's going to have a very solid threat to deal with this Vikavolt in the next 2 or 3 turns.
Yep, has the speed, energy, Cape of Toughness, needs maybe a double turbo if you want to go for the Zap Cannon. Paralyzing Bolt, as you said, is very strong for locking your opponent down, but the 50 damage, especially going into an Arceus V-Star with a big charm, is just negligible.
Yeah, it'll add up slowly. It does have the Marnie to pair it, and this is the combo we usually see. Paralyzing Bolt when Jack goes first in combination with something like the Marnie to really apply a lot of pressure right off the gate, not eyeing up playing any copies of something like Path to the Peak himself. It looks like just eyeing up instead. I'm going to utilize the Stormy Mountain Stadium card to grab these Lightning Pokemon to be a little bit more consistent. As a very nice grab there. Does find a few Mareep to get down into play.
Beautiful.
To be able to get some more Flaffy. And as a supporter for the following turn, all you can ask. And it's going to be really on Andrew at this point to respond. But again, you've got an Arceus powered up. That Sharon's Care will go to the bottom of the deck, which is a big deal for Jack, because if Andrew just eventually sits here, attacks into this, and then next turn plays on like a Sharon, all of a sudden you're back to pretty much square one with your board. And now Andrew's already got half the prize cards needed to take the game.
Vikavolt's just big enough to stand up to the Trinity Nova. And especially with the Cape of Toughness, maybe we find some answer here. It comes down to whether or not Jack can get that pivot, right? We need the Arceus V-Star for him. We need that Raichu to take advantage of that energy acceleration to cash it in for a big explosive attack.
Yeah, this hand's actually looking very solid for Andrew. Has the Inteleon, but I think it's just debating, what do I even need to play this turn? And this is a very smart line to just say, hey, I'm not going to give much of a tell. I'm going to pretty much say, Jack, you marked me into 4 cards. I drew for turn. I played a path, and I attacked. I did not do much. I don't have much going for me here. I get to deal some damage, and yeah, make sure you go through the deck. Those cards at the bottom of the deck, like that Sharon's Care, will now get shuffled in and can potentially be a top deck or a card towards the top of the deck, which is a big deal. Not having to invest your Inteleon pieces to get these pieces like the Sharon's Care, like a Research, like another Arceus V-Star. It's a big deal.
Being able to save those for much more clutch situations down the road rather than using them to bail you out in the early turns is so good. And we already saw Jack previously had Marnied into a Marnie, going to go for this disruption once again, drawn to a few more cards. Hopefully the 5 cards drawn will be a bit more useful. I see the Raichu, I see the Stormy Mountain.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of Pokemon there. Has a few Pokemon Research as well. Can bump the Path to the Peak. Your opponent's already down a path. This is their second one coming to play. If you're Jack here, you'd probably have a pretty good hunch that there's not another Path to the Peak in the deck, especially when your opponent has already played a training court as well. So you could be pretty safe to bump this. I think the only thought process is, well, do I even want my opponent to have anything? But no, it's actually just going to go ahead and attach the Arceus, hit for 50. This Arceus V-Star is at 100. And now the options are endless. And look at that, because the deck was shuffled, look what the top deck is. It's Sharon's Care.
There it is, Sharon's Care. You maybe want to, are you going to take the risk of taking one more attack from this Vikavolt? Are you worried about some sort of bigger swing with an Arceus V-Star? With this energy attachment, like you talked about, Ethan, Could there be an explosive swap into an evolution, into a double turbo attachment?
Well, Sharon will pick up this Arceus in the active, and the other one can come back down, plus the attachment. But it looks like Andrew understands that with this big charm, it's very unlikely this Arceus is dealing enough to knock out. Even if it had all basic energy on it, it would still be 10 damage short. With the big charm, you would then need a damage modifier. And while there are a few choice belts in this deck, it's not enough. Only actually one, because of the Cape of Toughness being the big card to put on the Raichus and the Vikavolt to keep him a little bit healthier. But this is going to have to be an explosive turn for Jack. Has the Story Mountains, already has that beautiful pre-release promo of the Flaffy. Nice little alternate artwork there. Gets the Raichu down, and here's a big 7 cards off the research. Needs a pivot to get out of this active. Additionally, needs to find some energy, and I see no energy there in that hand.
Ultra Ball, trying to find something here. Gets rid of Arceus.
Yeah, this is one of the weird scenarios where speed energy is almost always a better lightning energy. It provides the lightning for attachment, and it draws you cards. But at the same time, you can't bring it back with Dynamo, or it is not a lightning energy, so to say. It is a special lightning energy. So this is where I'm sure if you're Jack, you're really wishing that last one was there, because at this point, it would be a lot easier to get there. You have to invest now Starbirth in order to put something together. Looks like eyeing up a lightning energy needs that to get something like a knockout, and has to also commit to a pivoting option for this Mareep. We'll be able to at least attack this active, but it's just going to come short of being able to take the knockout.
If we can at least get one attack off, that will be some acceleration onto this Raichu. And that's what you want to see, right? Because Andrew's already been enjoying a lot of attacks, a lot of time, a lot of room to just get this bench set up, have a lot of continuous pressure. Once this first Arceus goes down, we have another one ready to take its place. There's the attachment, as you said, and Flaffy also bringing another lightning energy out of the discard pile thanks to that Dynamotor ability. And there's the air balloon swapping into the active.
Yeah, it looks like we're just making sure we're on the same page. Looks like Jack may be thinking the knockout was there, but 10 damage short. And on top of that heartbreaking realization, you're going to get hit with the Sharon's Care almost certainly this turn. Andrew's got to be feeling excellent. It's going to go stay at 3 prize cards, has level ball now, no longer under item lock either, so can now play these item cards out. We know the Inteleon's already in hand. We know that the Sharon's Care is also already in hand. And looking at the deck count, it looks like the typical counts we are seeing in most of these decks, 2 Sharon's Care is sort of the norm now at this point, in combination with a Pal Pad to make it potentially 4 Sharon's Care, but we usually see 2 or 3 being utilized. And it looks like we're just having some sort of confirmation.
Jack missed a little bit of the timing to accelerate the energy. Andrew kind of just started going on with his turn. And we'll see if they're going to let him do this or not.
Yeah, and it looks like we are, looks like was not able to. It's just kind of one of those situations where if you are your opponent, you're in a situation where every win is going to count. If an action's not completed, you got to kind of make that call, but upholding the rules, you can never hate against that as long as it goes in spirit. And we know Jack was not doing anything malicious there, just wanted to accelerate some energies, was not able to, forgot. It's one of those instances.
Just forgot to announce it, like after the Trinity Nova, and so...
Yeah, it's one of those things that happens, but more so when you make those mistakes going forward, you're going to always remember going forward. Let me make sure I always accelerate energy, and you're going to learn more from that than your opponent letting you take back a mistake and pretending that nothing was happening. But there's the Sharon's Care, healing all the damage off of that Arceus V-Star. 10 HP remaining, but that's just enough to keep it alive, keep it in play. There's the Arceus V on the bench, going to get the energy. The new Arceus comes up, and this is looking excellent. Can now swing into this Arceus, and we know that Jack is not playing any healing cards in this deck, so any damage on the Arceus is going to stick.
And missing out on that acceleration indeed means that the Raichu doesn't really have anything in the chamber to unload in response. Arceus is going to get another attack, but Andrew now closing in with only 3 prize cards remaining. Is this Raichu just going to be able to hard carry from this position? We got a second Cape of Toughness coming down. With one more attack, it could be the way. Another Professor's Research for a big 7.
Yeah, we need to find a lot of energy cards and ways to maybe discard them, get them out of play. There is a Speed Lightning, so that can at least draw a few more cards. I believe saw a Quick Ball. That's not really what you want to find. More Stormy Mountains. You've already got what you need, but you can, at minimum now, get the speed energy. And I think that the issue of not being able to get any energy in the discard pile is a pretty big deal. However, does find the energy and the air balloon. I'm trying to do the math here. It will again be just 10 damage short if this Raichu decides to attack. You have to discard all energy and still miss the knockout.
The big charm coming in clutch twice. I mean, it was a card that was very, very good, like very popular, then kind of fell off a little bit because players were teching in so many options in order to put extra damage modifiers onto those attacks, and now the math is right back in Andrew's favor, having the big charm here.
Yeah, and just going to give that card a little bit of a look. Not one that you will see much as you're going through a 9-round tournament plus day 2 Swiss and cut.
And you get to admire this fantastic art as well.
Yeah, Raichu's a great Pokemon. I always enjoy seeing the artworks on there and the full art. I can't really hate it, right? He's so serious in the regular art and the full art. He's just happy to be here. He's happy to be on the stage at the New Jersey Regionals.
Couldn't have said it better myself. But now with Jack, again, not having that energy acceleration from the last turn, is still in a little bit of a pickle. One of the cross switchers is in the prizes still, so not having as much access to that combo as you'd like to get that switch.
Oh, wait.
But there's the Dynamotor.
Oh, did have the energy. So this Ultra Ball can discard the other Lightning potentially. And then from there, I believe the resources are there. I don't think we have seen a Dynamo, or we just saw the Dynamotor, actually. So, no, my bad. So the Dynamotor was there. But if this one grabs another Flaffy, then the energy cards are there to be able to get this knockout.
Yes.
And there it is.
Flaffy is grabbed from the deck thanks to the Ultra Ball. We have the Lightning Energy in the discard pile. We can use that second Dynamotor effect to put that onto the Raichu V.
Yeah, I'm looking at Jack's deck, and I think there's maybe like 10 cards left in deck. I don't know what other options we have following this, but you've got to take a knockout this turn. Otherwise, either this Arceus gets knocked out, or your Raichu's going to take damage. And I think Jack is just debating: do I go gung ho here and try to invest all my resources to take this knockout? And it looks like we are going to be seeing that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 energy. It looks like 6 energy hitting the discard pile. That's going to be a knockout. Jack will draw into another Arceus V-Star, but you really want to find those Lightning Energy that are still prized to be able to keep pressure up on the board going forward.
At the very least, Andrew doesn't have this Arceus powered up just yet, so not another attack coming in as it seems. But again, when you have the Inteleon engine backing you up, you can make any plays you want, seemingly. Even if it looks like you're backed into a corner, you just have to start getting those scoop-up nets, those shady dealings, and just start cycling, looking for exactly the cards that you need. It was something that Jeremy and I were talking about, having access to pretty much any card in your deck at any given time.
Yeah, Inteleon is one of the best engines for finding out trainer cards, which can essentially find Pokemon, but the one thing the engine lacks is finding energy. And like you said, double turbo needed to attack, or something like the Melanie that is still in the deck. And even if the other one is prized, which we know it is not, Pal Pad can bring it back, as we see the Melanie right there at the top of the deck. Now, it's just on Andrew to identify the lines. The Cable Toughness is a little bit annoying because, like you said, giving that Raichu essentially an extra 50 HP will put that up to 250. So it will be just short of being able to take a knockout, even if there were some sort of damage modifiers with something like a quick shooting and a scoop-up net, but that is not a possibility. So if you're still, I can't stress this enough, Andrew is still in an excellent spot, is ahead on prize cards. There's no energy cards on Jack's board. You can bring 2 back with Flaffy, but at most 180 damage, 200, it's still not going to be enough to knock out an Arceus.
So it looks like that Drizzile does pull up the Evolution Incense to find the Shady Dealings Inteleon, and then this is grabbing Ordinary Rod. And what else do you think Andrew wants to grab? The Raihan's already in hand. Supporter still available for this turn.
Yeah, maybe you would want to get back way to Gust the following turn. It looks like eyeing up Boss's orders. You know that Arceus will just kind of stick around for as long. I just have to see the amount of Gust that are in the list. It looks like just playing the 2 Boss's orders, so I believe both of them are still in the deck, so that could be a potential option. And I think Andrew understands that I'm going to be playing Raihan this turn. I can grab any card out of my deck. Let me be able to reutilize this line of this Inteleon, grabs the Scoop Up Net, and you can even give away less information by playing this Raihan before anything else, or you're just going to go ahead and play the Ultra Ball to grab the Arceus V-Star at any point, so might as well just get rid of it now.
So many options available to Andrew, and that's the other kind of side of the coin, is you have access to a lot of options, and that might actually slow you down. We're still in the first game of this best of 3. If you're taking too long to find these lines, things can come down to the wire, perhaps in the 3rd game if it comes all the way down to it.
Yeah, time can be a big issue. We're almost 20 minutes into game 1 already, so this is where, if you're Andrew, you're still in a fine spot. I feel like this position is pretty commanding. You really don't want to see ties early. We're going to have the 9 rounds of Swiss today, 5 more rounds of Swiss tomorrow, and then from there, the top 8 cut. Every match point matters. It's a big difference between 3 match points and 1 for a win. You want to win every match. It's pretty self-explanatory. And a tie feels better than a loss, but a win's the best feeling you can get in the Pokemon trading card game.
So Ordinary Rod shuffling that energy back in, and Arceus. Raihan also being considered here. Taking a little bit of extra time to think about what the energy attachment's going to be, what the card is I want to fish out with the Raihan. Again, after you attach that basic energy to one of your Pokemon, you search your deck for any card and put it in your hand. Finds the double turbo here.
Yeah, interesting choice reveals that. I would like to see Andrew keep that a little bit secret just to show, hey, I don't necessarily know what card. Card advantage and card knowledge is a big deal. If you know every single card in your opponent's hand, you can make drastically different plays based off of what you know your opponent has and does not have. But it's going to get played down regardless. It's not the end of the world. Andrew does find double turbo. Didn't have another water energy in hand, so has to commit that. But because the other Arceus is in play, you're still going to get the full value, and you're not attaching more energy than you need, so to say. And able to swing into this Raichu as well, get the rest of the energy out of the deck, and it's just enough to be able to power up this last Arceus.
And Raichu still hanging on with that 50 HP thanks to the Cape of Toughness, but now has another opportunity to maybe get powered back up thanks to Flaffy and swing back in.
Yeah, this is where cross switchers can be a pretty big deal. Looks like Jack already has 2 in the hand. Stormy Mountains can be used. There is one more bench slot. And,
wait, is that his deck or his hand?
That is his deck. That is Jack's deck. I believe the Choice Belt is still in there, so that's the really only card of note that I can tell. The fact that the last cross switcher is prized, I think, can be a pretty big deal. But there's the double cross switcher onto the Arceus. It's one of these interesting cards, very reminiscent of Custom Catcher that we saw a while back. No effect for playing 1, but if you play 2, it's essentially the effect of Guzma. You switch your opponent active with one of their bench Pokemon, and you choose to do the same thing as well. Goes into the Flaffy. It's a free pivoter, and it looks like eyeing up attacking with the damaged Arceus as the line, but it's kind of awkward.
It's very risky. You can get the acceleration onto the Raichu V, but then putting this big damaged Pokemon into the active when Andrew only has 3 prize cards left, and you have 2 single prizers on the bench.
Yeah, the main problem with anything is nothing is going to be able to knock out this Arceus. It's not possible. Only getting a maximum of 3 energy in play. And if you're putting on the Raichu, you're going to be discarding them all to do the same amount of damage as the Arceus. You're not giving up the prize cards, but it's just kind of delaying the inevitable, I feel, here if you're Jack. The fact that you can't take a 2-prize knockout this turn, you're only going to have because technically your last 2 Gust are prized because you can't play the 1 cross switcher. Yeah. And because that is no longer an option. Actually, the cross switchers are indexed. It's the boss that's at the top of the prizes. So the cross switchers are still an option, but again, that's just the fact that you're not taking knockout. Andrew is almost always going to get a way to knock this Pokemon out the following turn. And look at that, already has the boss's orders in hand for next turn. If you're Jack here, you may just consider going to next game and smartly just deciding to not delay the inevitable, scoop things up, go to game 2. You got about half the clock left. It's still possible to pull something out.
And we talked so much about how Jack's deck is meant to get that Raichu down. It has that special ability where it can still attack on turn 1 and get massive acceleration. We saw that really, honestly, I was surprised at how slow the engine came online. The Vikavolt V was just kind of sitting there, dealing chip damage. The item locks weren't really disrupting the opponent too much. And then by the time the Arceus hit, by the time the Raichu hit, it was a bit too late. And not to mention, we did miss that key energy acceleration. So that allowed Andrew to survive that massive attack and then get the Sharon's Care. And honestly, I think Jack has really learned a lot from that first game and is going to go into the second game playing very, very quickly, very, very aggressively to just finish this one up immediately and head into game 3 with as much time left on the clock as possible.
Yeah, we're going to really see the power of Jack's deck in this game where I am almost certain Jack will choose to go first. Wants to get the Vikavolt down, the energy attachment. Raichu's attack is very good on the first turn to be able to attack. The only problem is the fact that you can only accelerate the energy onto Raichu means that if for some reason you get a Vikavolt down, you can't just throw the energy onto the Vikavolt to power it up the following turn. But looks like we are getting things started out. Both players getting their prize cards faced out. We'll see what players have access to. We have seen a fair share of prize cards, or cards be prized that can make or break the game right off the bat. One of those Vikavolt, 2 Flaffy in the prize cards.
A lot of the key engine pieces finding themselves in the prizes for Jack. Really unfortunate, but there are still a couple lines. If Andrew ends up with a Sobble in the active that can't get pivoted out right away, maybe it gets taken down. The Prophecy is coming together. Storming Mountains, turn 1 for Jack, and the Raichu V finally on turn 1 now has the fast charge potentially.
And Jack's going to get the heartbreaking news that there's only one Flaffy in the deck. Interesting enough, we haven't really talked about this, does play Luminion as well to grab some supporters out, but I think if you're Jack here, I like this here. Not really. We see sometimes players on stream find out these heartbreaking prize cards, and they're like, oh, I don't have access to my main attackers or whatever, and they kind of make a reaction. But it's kind of like poker in a way where you don't really want to give a tell or anything. You want to keep it as discreet as possible when it comes to what cards you have access to. I'm just looking at this hand to see what options there are. Is playing that Thunderous, but we haven't really talked about that. It's just a very nice attacker on the second turn to accelerate some energy and take a knockout onto a Sobble, but you see
Andrew's got to say, what is this technology that you've brought today?
Yeah, he's going to take a quick read, but you feel a little more comfortable when your opponent discards a card that you don't know what it does at that point. But Arky is getting grabbed. Jack's actually going to really need to rely on something the following turn. And I think Andrew understands, hey, my opponent can attack on the first turn. That could be quite good here.
Yep, so there's the energy attachment, has the fast charge. This allows you to search through your deck to attach another lightning energy. And now turn goes over to Andrew.
Yeah, and looks like to start things off, has the Marnie, and really all
Are there any Pokemon in this hand?
Does have the Ultra Ball, so can grab out a Pokemon. I think the Inteleon is there, but you really want to have that for later on. Can get a water discard pile as well.
Hopefully there's some good fodder to discard with the Ultra Ball. Sometimes players have to make some really tough choices about what they need to get rid of.
Yeah, I think Andrew hesitating to maybe discard this quick shooting Inteleon, but you kind of go into game 2 understanding that, hey, game 1 I really didn't need to use the quick shooting Inteleon. It wasn't as crucial. It could be a piece later on to deal some damage residually to these Arceus V stars, or even to slowly deal some damage to these bigger targets like the Raichu with a Cape of Toughness. But you need to get Arceus down, and you need to get that energy attachment. It's more important than getting rid of these situationally usage, or situational cards rather, like the Inteleon.
Yeah, and Andrew also has the Ordinary Rod. Maybe tries to put that back in later when you need that clutch 20 damage.
Yeah, nothing like a good quick shooting to close out some math and finish things up. But I think the question here for Andrew is, do I want to play this Marnie? Do I want to maybe attach the Sobble? That means that Raihan is a potential play the following turn as well, and you accelerate your board. And I think that's really what Andrew is deciding. We know that Raihan is available. It is an option. And yeah, Andrew's just deciding, hey, this Sobble is most likely going to get knocked out. I know that if I make this play and I play something like a Marnie, or I just pass, I'm going to have no Sobbles to utilize Shady Dealings for on the Drizzles the following turn, and very smartly decides to keep calling, understands that things like Melanie and Raihan are potential options, even eyeing up the Melanie to the top of the deck potentially for the following turn. It's going to get shuffled back in, but look at that. All the boys are here.
The
Sobble
quad
squad.
Sobble.
The
Let's
Sobble
go.
squad.
The Sobble squad. We just need like that promo art where it's got the good flying V sunglasses.
Yeah.
Bring back the reference. Please, Pokemon. Please, you must hear our call. I can see the messages in the chat right now. The viewers also want it.
I believe it. I believe it. And this is kind of the lines of play we see a lot of people like right away. Why would you attach the Sobble? But getting the Sobbles out, and the reason that there are so many energy acceleration cards in this deck that work perfectly with this water
research
engine.
on the empty hand. You love it. 7 cards coming out, fully loaded. What's Jack looking for now?
Yeah, looks like found the Arceus V-Star, so did utilize that V-Star power to grab the exact pieces. Looks like eyed up the Cape of Toughness and the research to get things done. So big time draws here for Jack. Gets the Flaffy. It's going to be the only one in play. You're going to really want to hope that sticks around. Has Speed Lightning Energy as well. Decides to Stormy Mountains after the research, so it gives you more options on specifically what you want to grab, another Raichu or a Flaffy, just in case you take the prize cards. Could be a solid grab. And if you're Jack here, you got to be feeling a lot better than in game 1.
And Jack, because the Flaffies are prized, if you're thinking that a KO is about to happen here pretty soon, maybe you grab the Mareep here, but opts for the Raichu, wants to have multiple options to pivot back and forth into, to have these explosive attacks, right? Discarding all the lightning energy, and it's not just the lightning energy attached to the Raichu itself, it's from all the rest of your bench as well. So now the speed lightning energy coming through, drawing 2 cards.
Yeah, looks like eyeing up potentially a way to discard a lightning energy. I believe there are none in the discard pile, no. So missing a turn of Dynamotor can be a pretty big deal when you can start to slowly power up these Raichus. And, oh, so unfortunate, both Floppies still in there.
Loses the 50-50, goes for the, he's a bottom left prize card gamer.
Yeah, unfortunate that you are unable to find that. It's not as big of a deal this turn, though, as no Mareep came into play, so that will not be potential to evolve this turn. No evolution skipping cards currently in the format that we've got, besides Boost Shake, which would end your turn and not what you want to see here.
But fortunately, Jack does take one prize card. This allows you to slightly offset the 2 prizes for the Arceus V-Star. Maybe that's relevant. Fortunately, Andrew saw the writing on the wall and got that keep calling off, has these other Sobbles ready to go. So not a lot of disruption onto Andrew's options for this round.
Yeah, it's a big-time top deck in Double Turbo. Now has the potential to just play the Melanie. You don't even have to grab the Double Turbo off of the Starbirth of V-Star power. And now you get your target for Trinity over the following turn, guaranteed. You don't have to bank off of a Drizzile finding a search option or just drawing it off of this Melanie. Very solid grab off the top of the deck for Andrew.
Yeah, it was a Melanie, and what was the other card that was grabbed from the Starbirth?
I believe found the Arceus to be able to power it up the following turn.
Okay, so that's going to get set up right now. Andrew, again, not just doing well on this turn, but you can see the way the Inteleon engine forces you to play several turns ahead. There's the attachment with the Melanie. You draw 3 cards.
Yep, we'll see the Drizzile get grabbed, and wow, look at that. Three outs to Drizzile, or Inteleon off of those 3 cards. Exactly what you want to see to get those into play. Get some Sharon's Cares, roll in the following turn. I think we'll just see one Drizzile come down as it allows you to evolve into Inteleon and evolve into your Drizziles and utilize Scoop Up Net to the fullest ability to keep them in play. So eyeing up Path to the Peak is a very solid grab. You've used your only V Pokemon, Rule Box Pokemon ability at this point. You're very happy to say, hey, I've done my job on my side. I don't want you having any fun over on yours.
No way to thin the Lightning Pokemon out of the deck. Turns off the Dynamotor.
Dynamotor will still be online.
Oh, wait, no, yeah, Path to Peak only affects Rule Box. You're right, right. So Dynamotor is still online, thank goodness. Jack paid the electric bill.
Yeah, that would be a very, very good card if Path to the Peak shut everything off. But Shady Dealings wouldn't even be able to use. But the fact that it still shuts off V-Stars.
Yeah, you played so many like V Pokemon, you just mentally think it hits everything. But, that's one thing that Jack accounted for when building this deck. People are starting to re-employ Path to the Peak. I'm going to use these Pokemon with no rule boxes, so I can still use those abilities. And of course, the Drizzile engine can still keep on going underneath Path to the Peak.
And it looks like eyeing up the discard off of this Quick Ball. Going to go ahead and get rid of the Raihan. Does now have the Lightning Energy and discard pile, but nothing to get knocked out. The Raichu will be hit for 180 damage, but now gets Mareep down, preparing for the following turns. There's no way for this Arceus to get knocked out, and this is where we run into this similar dilemma. You're swinging for a lot of damage, but it's kind of the motto against this Arceus and Inteleon deck. If it's not enough, I'm going to heal.
Raichu was set up early, but because, again, it's not Arceus V, we don't have that energy acceleration.
Yeah, Dynamotor will get the other Raichu powered up and ready, and we are actually going to see the boss's orders
finding a smaller target.
And there you go. All the energy is getting wiped off the board. Jack will take 2 prize cards, getting into one of the Flappies as well as the Vikavolt. At least feeling a sigh of relief that at least the last 2 Flappies weren't in my last 3 prize cards. I have access to 1 more at least.
And so now Jack is actually showing us a lot of this aggression, a lot of the tempo that this Lightning engine is capable of. Andrew has a lot of utility, but needs to try to fight back for the board. Arceus V-Star still in the active spot. Looks like it can take down this first Raichu V, but now with Arceus V-Star, the second Dynamotor about to hit, this next Raichu V also has the potential for just such big damage numbers.
Yeah, and Choice Belt being prized, the more I think about things, is also a very big deal for Jack. The fact that with this Arceus Inteleon engine, you need to constantly get other Arceuses down so you can have the attacker, when you play Sharon's Care, to pick up, to go into. And because these Arceus have to stay in play a turn before they V-Star, they are a little bit more fragile, 60 less HP. And an Arceus with a Choice Belt is enough to knock it out with basic energy, but you're not going to have access to that card. You can't do a cross-switcher combo if you don't have the final piece of that combo to be able to knock out an Arceus.
And Andrew can find all the pieces that he needs. Shady Diddling and Inteleon hitting the board here, looking for even more resources, trying to counter, has the path already in play. And What are you looking for here, Ethan? What do you think is the best grab for Andrew here off of Shady Dealings and Teleon?
And a quick ball will be almost 100% the grab, and it is. And interestingly enough, values the other cards in hand, needs a card to get rid of with that effect on quick ball, and eyes
Clever.
that card up with the Shady Dealing. Says, hey, everything else is pretty cool. I'm sure I've got a way to draw some more cards or get some more Pokemon to play or find those trainers going forward. I'm just going to grab a card I know I don't need. If you want my path, at this point, I kind of just accept that things are just going to be this way. You've used your only V-Star ability at this point, too, so things are pretty chill.
And so now we've got another Arceus ready to go. And with Jack, we have the option for multiple attackers, right? The Vikavolt, the Arceus, the Raichu, but Andrew has to rely much more heavily on the Arceus V-Stars to get powered up, to get that energy acceleration and keep the pressure going. It's a very desperate time when you're actually trying to use the Inteleons to start attacking.
Yeah, and the last card, Andrew was really debating playing that Marnie. The last card in hand was a Scoop-Up Net, and that's a piece that you want to guarantee those trainer cards the following turn, but decides, I want to put this on the bottom of my deck, maybe I draw into it, and does draw into the Sharon's Care itself, which is kind of what you want to see for the following turn.
Yeah, and this was something you talked about, Ethan, where you put it on the bottom of the deck with Marnie, but then after you use your Trinity Nova, you're going to shuffle your deck anyway, and then you have a chance of maybe getting that off of your next couple draws for your turn.
Yeah, but Andrew's doing exactly what you want. You're going to start to catch up in this prize race a little bit. We'll get into an evolution incense most likely, unless we see some wacky prize grabs. But Andrew's going to keep things clean and classic. Going to be able to draw into that evolution incense to grab potentially the Drizzile or some other options later on. But the spotlight's on Jack to put something together. You've got a 310 HP, 2 prize Pokemon. That sounds very scary.
The big charm, once again, it's the biggest hurdle that Jack has been struggling to get over is just that extra HP. We have the ability to accelerate these energies, get the big attacks, but when you're constructing a deck like this, it's meant to hit very specific numbers very quickly. And so if your opponent's putting that extra pressure on you to try a little bit harder, put another card or two into your explosive turn, it does become really taxing here as we go deeper and deeper into the game. Even though the last, game 1 was pretty long in and of itself. Jack was down to, like, what, the last 5 or 6 cards in the deck.
I would have loved to see Jack use the Stormy Mountains before playing that Marty. You know your Flaffy just went to the bottom of your deck. You're going to need it to attack this turn. And by playing Stormy Mountains, maybe you don't grab anything out of your deck, but you shuffle the deck up and you give yourself an out. By playing that Marty, Jack had to pray you draw into not even the Flaffy itself, but a Surge option to find that Flaffy. It's just one more out you can have by making a simple sequencing play with Stormy Mountains, and it's going to come back to bite Jack here. Nothing going on for this hand. Has Cross Switcher, but what do you even bring up? The Arceus can just attack if you bring it up. You're dealing no damage, no way to be able to attack this turn because you already committed your energy and your Dynamotor for the turn onto this Arceus, and anything else that comes to the active would love to just be scoop up netted to get out and recycle that Drizzile line.
And with the Drizzile, your opponent is going to have access to, things like Boss's Orders and all kinds of utility in order to punish a play like this. If you are playing this Lightning deck that's so based around tempo and aggression, and you're missing out on these key turns, you aren't getting the maximum value that you need out of each turn, you're giving the value-based deck of Andrew here so much time to punish you and get set up with, again, another fully charged up attacker ready to take this first Arceus V-Star's place.
Yeah, and I think the option here is what do you chase after, and it's almost certainly going to be this this Raichu coming up, and we are going to see the manual retreat with the double turbo. No Cape of Toughness, so that is perfect math for this Arceus V-Star. Take the knockout onto the Raichu, as we will see the Trinity Nova take the knockout, dealing just enough damage and going to accelerate any energies remaining in the deck, and there is one, so that is just what you want to see. Get the energies into play.
Oh, the prize map is so good for Andrew here, taking down that 2 prize Pokemon and having another one ready to go, because James is so, now locked into this line. This Arceus V-Star needs to accelerate energy onto something else. We do have the Vikavolt that was grabbing up the prizes earlier, but that's not going to do enough either versus 2 Arceus now.
No, Vikavolt's very good in the early game, but again, 50 damage is just too minimal against a deck that is already set up, swinging and dealing 200 every turn. And if you're Jack here, you, I guess, can still grab the Vikavolt, but that just is a little bit scary because Now that's a 210 HP Pokemon, 2 prizes that can be knocked out potentially the following turn. Just needs to find something like a Choice Belt over on Andrew's side, which there is one of them in there, and I believe we have seen none played so far, as we will see Quick Ball getting some energy in the discard pile at least, and the Luminion with Luminous Sign, that beautiful full art. Very reminiscent of the Tapu Lele GX released back in Guardians Rising that had been a staple in play. Luminion not seeing as much play for a few reasons, mainly just because Tapu Lele's attack energy drive was so solid to be able to attack for colorless energy and be thrown in pretty much every deck. Luminion attacking for water energy, and now that Pokemon have so much more HP and hit for so much more damage, it becomes more of a liability than a help a lot of the time, but it will find the specific piece needed here, which is Raihan. We'll have to wonder what this grabs, but it is accelerating onto the Vikavolt, so hey, maybe we see a Paralyzing Bolt this turn, Adam.
We get the Paralyzing Bolt, get a little bit of damage through, trying to set something up. It's the Super Zap Cannon, 190 damage. That's decent, but again, you're still setting up, 2, 3, 4 turns here to finally find these last 3 prizes. Meanwhile, Andrew just needs to take one more key knockout on the Arceus V-Star or the Vikavolt V.
So the mapping is technically here. The only problem is now that you put the Luminion in play, it's very likely that Andrew has it if there's already the Inteleon in hand. Boss's orders will just close things out at this point, but you have to go for this play that you load your board up with energy, you take a knockout with item lock, and then maybe the last turn you go ahead and apply some pressure with Raichu, but I believe Andrew has, I don't know if I see anything in hand just yet.
There was a scoop up net.
Yeah, can't play any of those item cards in hand. Has the training court, so can at least grab the energy back. You will be 10 damage short of taking this knockout, and all Jack needs the following turn if this Arceus attacks is a Raichu. We do see the Raihan, though, will be able to accelerate the energy into play, and I actually believe this will get it because we will be able to see
the boss's orders grabbed off the Raihan.
Turn. Yeah, I believe that's one of the instances, right? If the quick shooting Inteleon was still in play, that would be the math needed to take the knockout onto the Vikavolt. But
so is this the line for Jack? You're just going to snipe out all the shady dealings from the back line because of the lightning weakness and just lock out these item cards?
Yeah, I mean, if you're over on Andrew's side, promoting this 2-prize Pokemon feels so scary, but you're going to attack, and now this opens the door up for Jack.
Jack has
close this game.
Has one more attack to try to take down something. Can you get the extra damage you need? This Arceus V-Star in the active does not have a big charm on it. It's got just the normal HP totals, but both Raichu Vs already out of the picture.
Yeah, this is where, again, you could Story Mountains to check the deck if you have another Raichu. I don't know if there is one in there. Here we go, big 7 cards off of Professor's research. Has to be eyeing up some sort of way to pivot. Does have the air balloon, but I feel like if the Raichu was there, it would have maybe just got slammed down. I'm trying to see. Here's the math. So you need 5 energies to be able to discard Vikavolt. With an air balloon, we'll have to discard 1 to retreat. There is still, I don't know if there's any. The problem is I don't know if there's any in the discard pile besides this. And the reason is you need to Dynamotor before you retreat into that Pokemon, since Dynamotor only works on your bench Pokemon.
Is there anything in Jack's deck that can put the Raichu back into the deck? Something? I got to take a closer look here at the list.
There's not. There is. Oh, there is an Ordinary Rod, actually. No, there is an Ordinary Rod, but I think we may have saw it get discarded earlier on. And, I mean, you can retreat into this, but you know your opponent already had grabbed the boss's orders. Things will be pretty much set in stone. You can at least get an attack off, but Lee's just going to go and flush boss's orders. Andrew is going to take this set 2-0, advancing to 4-0. Very well played, and really just showed us that this deck is, its strategy is not crazy. It's not something that is bold and outrageous, but man, it's simple and it gets the job done.
Yeah, the Arceus Inteleon is just, quote unquote normal Arceus, but it's just solid plays, clean value, access to all the tools and pieces you need from your deck when you need them. And we also saw Andrew just very clean, consistent play, not mis-sequencing, not missing any triggers, not missing the timing on any abilities, and just doing what the deck wanted to do. 2 games in a row, and again, well-deserved 4-0.
Yeah, you got to be feeling good going into the day 4, almost halfway through your matches to push yourself through. I got to be wondering what Andrew's thinking after that